Okay, first up is Sam, and there's a question about the gray lines on the pants. And when you, if you did the pants in Photoshop, when you export your UVs, it puts a layer in there um, with the UVs on it with that grid, and you just need to either hide or delete that layer if you're saving it out to Mudbox or saving it back to Maya. So you should have a Photoshop file somewhere with that extra layer um, of those lines from the UV texture export. As far as the rest of your textures, unfortunately, I can't really see them because um, you just turned in the Maya file, and if you look at the submission directions, you need to create a archive scene, and it explains how to do that right here. So um, if we just look at this example here, file archive scene, and you can see right here is where it puts that zip file, and then you'll just send me that zip file. And the reason we need that is because that zip file will include all the textures, but if you just send me the Maya file, it will not include the textures, and therefore I can't see the textures on your character. So please send me the archive scene, and I'll do a more thorough. Next up is Zerong, and it looks like you got some of the character textured. No, just a default on that surface, and I guess on. I'm just going to delete history off of this. Alt Shift D. Is that not working? So yeah, you just got Lambert 1 on these. So you haven't textured those yet. You mentioned about your textures, changing the scale of those. So I would have thought you would have, laid it out in Photoshop, but it looks like maybe you just, let's take a look. You just took like a flat texture, mapped it over the whole thing. So it'd be better to more carefully kind of either in Photoshop or Mudbox kind of paint them on. But failing that, if you're just gonna do this, you could go to the Place 2D texture mode here, node here, and just increase the U and V repeat. Let's say 4 and 4, like that. Maybe rotate the UVs, get a better angle. Let's delete history here too. Alt Shift D. Should get rid of, yeah, there we go. And then again, go to color, and then here I can find my Place 2D texture node right there. Something like that, maybe 6 and 6. If you like that better, a little smaller, that seems a little bit better. Although, again, this is why you lay stuff out rather than just throw a texture on the whole thing, as demonstrated in the lesson. And then same here, the weave is very big here, so again, I'll delete history, Alt Shift D, and go to this color, and here's my Place 2D texture node, and then again, increase the U and V repeat. So that would help with that. Looks like you did paint a texture on the face, which is good, and you got an interesting eye texture going, so that's good too, but you need to finish the hands and the feet, and it'd be better if you properly lay this out either in Photoshop or Mudbox, so you could control the direction of the grain of the jeans and the sweater. So Tara sent a zip file, but in the zip file was just this scene file, and what you need to do is you need to be working in a project folder. You need to have your scenes file saved in the scenes directory, and your source images, like the sweater, saved in the source images directory. The reason this other student's sweater is showing up here is It just happens to be named sweater, and Maya was smart enough to find it, but that's obviously not the sweater you used. If you look at the hands, and I look at the path here, I can see you've just got on your desktop, you've got a folder called Maya, and then you've thrown the image in there. So if you make a project, file, project window, and so if I make a new project and give it a name, I could call it like Anim202 or something like that, and decide where I put it, and then hit accept. It's going to make a folder called whatever you put in here. Wherever you tell it to put it there, you can browse to a location, and it'll make all these subfolders. And then you save all your scene files in the scenes folder, and then you put all your source images, like the sweater texture and the hands texture, in that source images folder. And then you won't have stuff like the hands turning black and stuff like that. So, and then before you open a file, you should set the project file, set project, and then you would choose the appropriate project name here. So you have to start working in a project folder, and then when you go to send me your scene, you need to do file, archive scene, and it's going to make a zip file. And I'll show you where the zip file is right here, and you send me that zip file. You don't just zip your scene file, you have to use archive scene, because the reason is it's going to gather together all the necessary supporting files, like all your source images, into that zip file so that I can actually see your textures. This is Daisy. She wasn't able to finish the whole thing, but did do the jeans, and those look really good. And everything else, as she said, is a placeholder. She did do eyeballs, and those are looking good. So, yeah, I mean, you've got the right idea. These look good, and I just keep going, I guess. I think it won't take you terribly long to get like some textures on the rest of this, so keep moving forward. But what you have looks good so far.